Hello, and welcome to Living Well with Dr. Sheila. I am your host, Sheila Craig Whiteman, and I would like to invite you to enjoy our show today. As a matter of fact, you can watch this show on our streaming network through KP Media TV, and we stream on Roku, Amazon Fire, and a few other stations. And you can also, if you love podcasts, listen to us on Chromecast or iTunes. I just love educating everyone, including myself, on how to live better, how to live well mentally, physically, and spiritually. So today we have a guest, and she is actually a returning guest for us. And this is Karen Lorre. And I'm going to give you a little bit about Karen's bio. Karen Lorre helps you to release pain and fatigue so that you can stay healthy and active all your life. Karen is the best-selling author of 3 books, Chronic Pleasure, Use the Law of Attraction to Transmute Fatigue and Pain into Vibrant Energy, Effortless Enchantment, which is a memoir of magic, magnetism, and miracles, and her 3rd book, Chronic Pleasure in Relationships, Inspire the Best in Men. She has been endorsed by Dr. Bruce Lipton, Dr. Deepak Chopra, Gail Hendricks, and many more. As Deepak Chopra said, Karen Lorre's love radiates to you. You can trust that Karen is the real deal. She embodies chronic pleasure and teaches you to do the same. Hi, Karen. Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us again.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you inviting me back, and it's so good to see you, and you look gorgeous.
And so do you. So do you, I must say. So I want you to just start out. Let's just start out talking about really it's possible, yes, to let go of pain and fatigue. Is that true?
Yes. Now let me put that into context. So I used to have chronic pain, and I used to have narcolepsy and a whole bunch of other stuff, PTSD and panic attacks and blah, blah. So I had a lot of things going on. My girlfriend said, "You have so many issues, you should get a subscription." Magazine issues. It was funny. Anyway, so when I had like this awakening, and things started to shift, and the pain in my body went away. And then over time, the fatigue and the narcolepsy went away. And now I have vibrant energy during the daytime. I sleep deeply at night, which is the opposite also of narcolepsy. And I don't have any pain. Now, it doesn't mean, let's say I hit my knee on the coffee table, I'm still going to get the momentary, move to the left so you don't do that again. That alert, I'll get that little signal that says, hey, that's hot or that's cold or whatever it is, that alert, that's too sharp, whatever, but it doesn't last. So that's the difference in terms of the pain. Like I had an injury on the back of my hand where I accidentally severed 3 tendons. I don't know how I did it because I was in a concussion. And when I when I woke up, maybe 12 hours later, I'd slept through this concussion late. I was supposed to go bike riding with a friend, and I saw that I had a cut, but I thought, just need a butterfly Band-Aid. My neighbor happened to come by, and he said, "You need more than a Band-Aid. You need surgery. You got to go to the ER." And he threatened that he would make me go if, he would drive me there, and if I didn't go by myself. So I said, okay, I'll go to the ER. I told my friend I wouldn't go bike riding. But I didn't have any pain. I didn't have any pain from the head injury, and I didn't have any pain from the hand. I went to the ER. I didn't have any emotional pain while I was waiting 5 hours. I didn't have any physical pain. They said, oh, you need an actual, real surgeon. You can't do it here. That's too complicated. You severed all these things in the sac and da-da. I still didn't have any problem. I went to they said, how many pain pills do you want? I said, I don't need any. And they said, are you sure? And they couldn't believe it because it was a huge gash. And I said, yeah, I don't need any. I don't feel any pain. And they were like, how are you getting home? I said, I'm driving. And they're like, they were freaked out. And then I said to the woman who was the doctor who was pregnant, I said, you're having a little girl. And she looks at me and she goes, how do you know? And I said, I can feel her. And she said, we just found out yesterday that it's a girl. So that was just another side thing. But anyway, then I went to the doctor, and he was hilarious, and he just put me under local, and he did the surgery, and that was fine. How many pain pills do you want? I don't want any. Then I went to the physical therapist 2 days later to get a splint. And the physical therapist said, wait, how long have you been doing this? How long ago did you have the surgery? And I said, 2 days ago. And she said, wow, you're healing like a 3-year-old. And I'm older than that, in case you don't know. And then they said, what's your level of scale from 0 to 10? And I said, of pain. What's your level of pain from 0 to 10? And I said, what pain? And so they wrote a big 0. And then I went to hand therapy for 10 months and it was still a 0 the whole time. I mean, every once in a while he would massage my hand with too much force. And I'd say, oh, can you back off? But I didn't get nothing bothered me. And I watched all the people around me because it was set up like a bar with the, with the hand therapist on one side and then all the patients on the other side. So it was usually six or 7 patients there at the same time with different practitioners. And they were all, just suffering. And I was not. I was having a great time. I met some great people. I made the hand therapist laugh all the time. He made me laugh. And it was a totally different experience. And that's when I thought, oh my God. And Chronic Pleasure is the name of my book. It's not about a drug. It's actually the kind of drugs our body make internally. I'd had this huge amount of pleasure going on before I had the injury, and there was no problem at all in the whole 10 months of the what do you call it? Physical therapy. Yeah. And so none of it hurt me. And then the same thing happened with the narcolepsy, where I used to fall asleep all the time, like at lunch or driving or in a conversation. And now that does not happen. I still may take a nap and I definitely go to sleep at night. So there's that kind of fatigue where you're ready to go to bed. I'm not talking about that, but I'm saying the excessive fatigue, that doesn't have to happen anymore. And so the pain has gone away from my life, except for the kind of thing that's like, oh, hey, watch this thing. And then it's gone. It's gone in under a nanosecond. And then the fatigue doesn't come up. Every once in a while, I will take a nap because they're good for you, actually. But otherwise, the fatigue doesn't come up either. I don't get tired. It's great. I get tired at night if it's a certain time, but it's time for me to go to bed, and I go to bed at a good hour and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of what I mean by it. It's there's a little caveat in the sense that, yes, you still need to get some sleep, but you don't have to. And there is pain that's a communication, but pain is not the alarm. It's not supposed to be that incessant alarm that's going on and on and on and on. That's not what pain is for. Pain is just a brief communication.
Yeah. And I do want to say, just kind of back up something that Karen said, because she talked about when she was in hand therapy and about how for most patients, it is very painful. When I was in the clinic, the hand therapist was the person who really was out in the open. For me, I was behind the door, but even as I'm going past her, if I had some free time and I would sometimes watch what she's doing, apparently it's very painful. It's very painful because people, even men, and men and women are both very strong, but you could see that they were pretty distressed. I'll just say that. So hand therapy it can be painful. But the other point that I wanted to bring up was that, and I'm glad you made the distinction between what fatigue you were talking about. But for many women, and it's mostly women I found in my practice, fatigue is a big issue. And it's fatigue during the day. It's fatigue when you get up actually in the morning. You already wake up tired. So yeah, it's a really big issue. So anything that, and all of us are looking for ways to negate that somewhat, because it does take away from your quality of life, slowly but surely, because you start to do less and less and less. But yeah. So, and my question, so you alluded a little bit about who you did, what you did previously, who you were, how your life was, but you were an actress actually for 30 years.
Yeah, I've done around that amount of time. I don't know the actual math, but many years. Yeah. I've done over 1,000 hours of TV and film and commercials and
Okay. And so what first got you interested in healing?
Well, I actually wanted to be a doctor. I went to, when I was in high school, I would ditch school to read science books about the body. I was fascinated with the body. I graduated high school early because the science teacher, everybody, all the teachers were like, okay, you're beyond what we're teaching. So I went to college early and I studied how the mind affects the body. And I was at a place at a school at first because I went mid-year. So that I went to a local school where they had physical bodies that I got to dissect, and they had,
Hmm.
all sorts of things. So I got to see that, and I loved that. And then I went and studied more mind body medicine at UC Irvine. And it was so fascinating to me because it was obvious how much our mind had some impact, but they were just discovering it when I was in school. And it was called, at the time, it was called psychobiology. Now I think it's called psychoimmunology or um, psychoimmunology. And I think there's other ones about like how you can affect your brain and things like that. I just don't know the names. So I was studying that. And then by fluke, I got asked to be an actress and I started to do acting jobs. Like I literally thought, I was watching TV one night and I thought I could do that. And then I went to lunch with somebody and I said, I think I want to be an actress. And he said, um, yeah, then you got to get an agent. And I said, what is an agent? And he said, they get you acting jobs. And I said, okay. And then what is, and I said, how do you get an agent? He goes, you got to get a manager. And I said, what is a manager? And he said, they get you an agent. And I was like, oh, okay. And then we leave the lunch and this woman comes up to me and she says, excuse me, are you an actress? And I'd made the decision, like 18 hours before. And I said, yes. And she said, I'm a manager. Here's my card. Call me. I want to talk to you. And she ended up being my manager and she got me an agent and I started getting acting work. And I was really torn because I liked the acting. I had a spiritual experience with the acting. It was like the best feeling I'd ever had, but I loved the science. And I had this one day where I heard this voice that said, do you want adventure or do you want to be, in a line with some other people? And I said, adventure. And so I knew it was about acting. So I went into acting, but the thing that was so fascinating is every character I played, I had a different physiology. And I watched as I played different characters, my whole physiology would shift. Even if it was a character for 1 week on a TV show or 2 weeks on a TV show, it even went more when I was working on a series. I was Tina on One Life to Live, and on that show, I played pregnant for 6 months or so with a leotard and a pillow, and I just was playing pregnant, and my breasts grew from size C, which they normally are, to size D. Nowhere else on my body got bigger, just my breasts. And I saw that over and over again. I also saw people who wanted to have kids and they couldn't have kids. Then one of them would get a role in a play or in a movie or in a TV show where they were working with kids and they'd get pregnant. And so all the stuff, it just was like my mind was like, oh my God. And it was like acting was the perfect petri dish for what I had studied in college. So that's really what got me so interested in it, because as I saw it, it was so exciting.
And it's something, so even this is something you always really wanted to do. So, you actually, it really, from our conversation, you actually wanted to do it. You might have gotten sidetracked by the acting because it was, fun, adventurous or whatever. But
Well,
from there,
acting was the thing that showed me what the science had talked about in real life.
oh, okay.
That's what I mean by acting being the perfect petri dish. By every time I played a different character, watching my physiology shift, it was like doing experiment after experiment after experiment. I wasn't doing it that way on purpose, but once I look back, I was like, oh my God, we have so much more power than we think.
Yeah, and I've had a couple of guests on, and they all say the same. And I've actually been listening even to a lot of some of the top researchers or whatever in the field, and they all they're coming to that conclusion rapidly that you really have a lot more control for some things than you really believe that you do.
Yeah, even like you're saying, the hand therapy, people are suffering. It does not have to be that way.
Right, right. It was just common to see.
Right.
And
It's common. Oh, it's common.
yeah, it is. It was really common to see, and it was almost universal. So had we seen you in the clinic, we would have been like, "What's going on? Like, what did you push your finger? Because usually it's fingers that you're trying to increase range or whatever. Did you get? Did you? Are you really working with her? Because we would be like, what's going on? Because she seems awfully happy to be
Yeah.
here. Yeah, and I'm sure people were actually probably saying that. They probably said it to you. Yeah, what's up? Are you're pretty happy to be here? So you what was the switch though that changed you from actress to healer?
Well, actually, I kind of, even as an actor, I'd been studying healing. I just was fascinated with it. So I never stopped reading about neuroscience and epigenetics and human physiology and mind body science. Even as an actor, I was still reading about it. And I went to Barbara Brennan. She was a healer. I went to school with her also. So I learned that. But what actually happened was, while I was acting, I was actually at an audition and I had this uncured narcolepsy. And I fell asleep on camera while I was in the audition. And it was, if you can imagine, at the time, it was mortifying. Now I don't feel bad about it, but it made me afraid to go on auditions because I just didn't have any energy. And so I stopped auditioning, and then I had the experience with my hand. And that's when I realized, oh, wow, everybody here is suffering and I'm not. And I have a worse injury than most of the people here. Or, many of the people, not everybody, but I had a pretty bad injury, and it wasn't affecting me in the way it was affecting everyone else. That's what made me go, oh, I've really tapped into something. I need to share this with the world.
You know what I appreciate about our conversation is that you are so candid about your life and your history, because I think that in itself will help people to not to relate, yes, but it will also help people to really feel that you can help them because you understand.
Thank you.
Because you understand. So let's talk a little bit about who do you help and how do you help them?
Really well. I have lots of different people have come to me for both emotional pain and physical pain and fatigue, emotional and physical. So I do a free consultation with people before I work with them. And what I found, like a lot of the people that I work with, they've had significant traumas, physical or emotional, car accidents, childhood rape, mentally abusive parents, those kind of things. And they've had these really significant issues that I'm really good at helping them unlock. So I help these people unlock those traumas and those challenges. And they could be the trauma of a divorce, or the trauma of losing, a partner or someone in your life that you love, because I've dealt with all those in my own life and I healed them all of myself. So every person I've gotten has been somebody who has some sort of pain and fatigue that is incessant. They haven't been able to cure. It doesn't necessarily mean they have it all the time, but it keeps coming back. And it could be emotional pain, like they keep having the same problem in the same relationship over and over. Or it could be emotional pain, like they're going to work and they're suffering in their work, not enjoying it, not having fun. And it could also be physical pain, where their body's achy. And all of those kinds of people I've been able to help. And all of the people get more physical energy also, because that's something so key. And I found so many benefits that just make my energy so much better than it ever has been. I have better energy now than when I was a teenager, or under like fourth, fifth, sixth grade. When I remember my energy, I had pretty good energy, but not like this. It's like over the top.
And we can see that you have a lot of energy. We can, because it's even bubbling up through the screen. So we can see that. Um, but um, how you kind of did explain how you helped them, but tell us a little bit about some of the ways that you see people change with your when you're working with them.
Yeah. So, for example, one of my clients, before I met her, well, actually, I met her before, but before I knew her story, um, she had been married 18 years to a guy and she loved him, but they had this kind of traumatic, dramatic relationship. And when I got to work with her, I found out that she had been sexually molested by satanic worshipers when she was 5, drugged and raped, and also her best friend. And so she couldn't really, she was having triggers all the time. And she was educated. She was at Cornell. She graduated as a psychologist, but not working. But she was constantly getting triggered, and especially in sexual situations and with her husband. So it got to the point where he was seeing someone else. And that's when she reached out to me. And we started working together and we healed that initial trauma. We healed the guilt of because her parents got separated. We healed all these different aspects and the triggers from her husband and from other stuff. And they were separated. Neither one of them knew if they were going to get back together. But they lived in the same neighborhood, and she and he started to see each other again. And now she was so light and so vibrant, and the emotional pain was gone, the confusion was gone, the fear was gone. She was now expressing herself. With creativity, music, dancing, writing, acting. He sees her, and the lightness in her being is so beautiful. He falls back in love with her and stops seeing the other woman. And then she goes back to be with him, and they have that same pattern to start with. And I said, okay, this is what you do. And I don't even remember the specific thing I said, but she said it was amazing. He shifted on a dime, and now he treats her way better than he ever did. And she said he's better than the man I ever dreamed he could be. So that's one example. Another guy, he was, in his 80s, early 80s, and he had just a lot of fatigue and, body aches. And we started working together, and he started dancing. he started doing tango. He started dating women. You know, it was just great. Like he just shifted because he'd gone into this new ability to have more energy and to let go of a lot of the pain. So I could go on and on with stories because I have so many amazing stories, but those are at least a couple.
So those are amazing results. The couple that you had, did you have to work with the husband, or was it because the wife changed that the husband changed in response?
Yes, in fact, that's why I've written my third book, which is about relationships. When I've coached either just the wife or the husband, the whole relationship has gotten better. I have had the opportunity to coach both couple, you know, the wife and the husband, or the both wives or both husbands. I have had the opportunity to coach a couple of those where it's both, you know, both partners, and they get even more spectacular results where they're getting, you know, like more money, more flow, everything starts happening in like synchronistic fun ways. But even if you just work with one person, and I've had it both with men and women, the relationship with the other person shifts.
Interesting. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah, we can talk about that on a whole different show.
I mean, that's really interesting because that will help, you know, that philosophy helps not only, and I know, well, you work, seems like you work with a lot of different types of people, but it would help parents,
Oh,
it would help couples, it would help even co-workers. So, you know, just you saying that, so it doesn't really have to be relationships. That information, you know, could apply to, I would think, almost anyone who would want to improve some aspect of their life relationship wise.
Yeah. That's my third book. It says it's about relationships for women, to inspire the best in men, but people have used it with their children, and all of my clients, all their kids get better. Even like one of my clients, she was a mom of 3, and her husband worked a lot, and she was tired, and she was, you know, and her kids were all under 7, and you know, just, you know, and all boys. And so so she was tired, and we started to work together, and her energy started to increase, and she was kind of also very like wishing she could have time away a lot more than she had. And by the time we finished, like even a half of the coaching, her kids had changed so significantly that she was now having, and she had changed, such a great time with them. They were just having the best time, and her husband became more available, and he saw that she needed some help, so he began to take them to school in the morning, to bring her coffee, to sit with her in bed before he went to work, after he brought the kids to school so she could sleep in, you know, sending her on vacations by herself, so she just had time where she didn't have to take care of anybody, you know, like all those things. And I only coached her. I did get to meet her husband because they came out to California, and I met everybody, and he was like, I love you, you know. I was like, I love you too. I've heard so much good things about you, but it's so fun. So and I met her kids too, and you know, so she changed. She got so much more physical energy. She became a much better mom. Her kids loved her so much more. Our kids were doing things like they were doing bending over backwards to be, you know, to make her happier. And I just love it. I love what I do. I love it.
Yeah.
I feel like the luckiest girl in the world.
That is so nice. So, and you said that they came to California. So you coach people anywhere they are throughout, I guess, the world? Is
Yeah. Yeah. People are all over. I've had people in Scotland, France, Poland, Australia, New Zealand, and then all over the US, South America, Canada, you know, and Caribbean, lots of places, Japan.
Really?
Yeah, different places. Yeah, all over. And yeah, I love it. Oh, Denmark, Norway. Yeah, I could go on. France.
Oh,
Yeah.
so interesting. So we talked about the book a little bit, but how did this book idea come to you?
Well, the first book idea came to me because that's the chronic pleasure, letting go of pain and fatigue. It came to me because I had really, I sailed through having the hand boo-boo. And and I was just like, I was amazed. I was constantly amazed. And you said like the hand therapist probably looking at you like, what's weird? The guy told me that the hand therapist said, when you first came in, and he told me this, he goes, I don't like people who are too happy. And I said, that's cool. And it didn't bother me, but I just kept being myself. And after a couple of months, he started just telling everybody who was sitting next to me, you got to meet Karen. She's amazing. You got to talk to Karen. She'll help you feel better. And then after I finished the hand therapy, he called me up and he like went on for 40 minutes. Like, oh my God, every time you came in, it was the best experience. Everybody loved you. You made me the whole room. Everybody even the patients talked about you even for months after you left. It's just like really sweet. Wow. We still talk about you. We love you. It's just really sweet. So people did think it's strange, because I'm, I got a big gash in my hand and I'm not suffering. But so that's how I wrote the first book, The Chronic Pleasure. And then the reason I wrote my third book about relationships is because so many women and men have had emotional pain with relationships. And then I would watch as their emotional pain shifted, their relationships all got better. Like you said, co-workers, parents, children, wives, husbands. One of my clients was a man, and his wife and he had been together for several years, and they'd already started to not have sex. And so he was frustrated and he was upset. So I gave him some instruction on what to do. And he sent me this Facebook message. It was so hilarious. Karen, your prescribed therapy worked so well. I was doing what you suggested. And my wife said, I don't know what you're doing, but take my pants off. And he said, we've had the best sex over the last 2 days since you started telling me this.
Wow.
I was like, oh, that's fantastic. Yeah. He's like, yeah, he's a fan.
Well, yes, I'm sure he is a fan, and probably his wife is a fan too.
Yeah.
Probably both of them are, yes, it's quite taken by you, as they say. So, what is the outcome that people can expect after they read your book?
Well, there's 3 books I've written, and if you read the first book, The Chronic Pleasure in, Use the Law of Attraction to Transmute Pain and Fatigue. And I'll give you a link for all 3 books. So wherever you are, you can have whichever book. If you read that book, you will know the path on how to let go of pain and fatigue. You will probably start having better energy. I've had a lot of people that have read the book that then have, either reached out to me and said, this book changed my life. I have better relationships with everybody, better everything, everything gets better. More synchronicities, more money, all the stuff changes. The second book is a memoir, and that book you'll just probably get really inspired. You might still find some things that are fun, but it will help you see like how magical life can be. Because I kind of took the magical parts of my life and shared those. And then my third book is about relationships, and it's written for women, but men seem to like it. And it helps women and men elicit or inspire the best in whoever they're with, whether it's meant to be for women and their partners, but it works for women and their wives, or men and their husbands, or men and their wives, or children and their parents, or parents and their children, or coworkers. It seems to work on all levels. So far, that's the feedback I've been getting. But I did write it for women so that they could get, what they wanted in relationships with men.
So what, maybe one thing, no, we have time, but I just, I don't want you to read, say the whole book, because I don't know. I'm going to read it, because after our conversation, I'm actually probably going to read all 3 of them. But, I believe I shall. But what information could you give someone to maybe think about what they could do to have chronic pleasure?
Sure. Yeah. So for example, one of the things I recognized when I had narcolepsy, when I was falling asleep multiple times a day at inopportune moments, one of the things I recognized is that every time I had something I was worried about, something I was afraid of, something that didn't feel like I wanted to do it, I would get tired. If somebody was gossiping in a negative way, fall asleep. If I was supposed to do something that I didn't really know how to do or didn't want to do, I was out. And I started to see this pattern that, and actually my husband, before we were divorced, but we were on the way to being divorced, I was in the car with him and we were going to an event for him. And I was closing my eyes in the car. I wasn't actually asleep. I was just like meditating. And he says, Jesus Christ, you always fall asleep when things are, what do you say? You always fall asleep when it's something that's for me, but when it's something that's fun for you, you stay awake. And I didn't recognize it at the time because I was kind of shell shocked because he was yelling. But a couple of years later, when we were divorced and I wasn't around that, I was like, oh my God, he's right. He was right. If I was doing something I liked, like when I did acrobatics, which I love, I still love it. I had energy. I'm outside, I'm playing with my friends, I'm doing physical stuff. I might have to take a nap afterwards, but there wasn't anything kind of like, all it is about fun and playfulness and the beach. Like there's nothing about it that's negative. So I didn't have any of these. I wasn't falling asleep. So the thing that you can do is start having discernment of when you start focusing on something that's negative and see how that's the first step. See how your energy shifts. If you start worrying about something, watch whether your energy goes up or down and just pay attention. That's the first level. Then I would say, once you kind of get clarity, oh, I can talk about this stuff, but when I talk about this, I start dropping. Once you get clarity about where your energy is, also I do it with food. I just pay attention. Does what I eat give me more energy? If it does, it's something that it's good for me. And if it doesn't give me more energy, I usually let it go. So I do it with food. I do it with my attention, my thoughts, all that stuff. And I'm paying attention. Is it giving me more energy? Is it giving me less? Once you've kind of seen some patterns, then one of the things you can do, I call it blisscipline. It's in the Chronic Pleasure first book. Blisscipline is the opposite of discipline. But let's say you want to do something that you get tired when you think about doing it, but you want to do it. One of the things I would start to do is I would start to think about it as if it had already happened in the way I wanted it to go. So for example, let's say I'm going to be speaking on a stage, let's say. Oh, it's going to be fun. It's going to be easy. It's going to be effortless. Oh, it feels so good. I feel so happy. Everyone's so happy. People are loving what I'm saying. I'm getting a standing ovation. I feel chills on my body. I feel so happy. I feel excited. I can hear the crowd. I can see people smiling. I can feel their energy. I can feel like everybody's excited and inspired. I feel excited and inspired. It feels intuitive. It feels so easy. It feels so fun. So now what I've done, I'm still sitting in my house. I'm usually writing it in my journal. But now what I've done is I've started to shift my perspective on that thing that would have been daunting. And I do it many, many days before the event so that by the time I get to the event, that's now my focus. Oh, I can't wait to do this. This is going to be really fun. Can I share a story about my plant that I did this with?
Oh, please. Please. Mm-hmm.
So my friend, she works for me. She's my assistant. She bought me a ficus plant. And when it came in her car, and when it got to my house, it was in shock. It lost like 100 leaves, like a lot of leaves. It was not a big plant, but like my size. And it lost all these leaves. And I bought a new pot, and I said, can you repot it for me? Because she does all this cool stuff for me. She's amazing. And so she said to me, well, the plant is going to go into shock. And I heard her, and I thought, that's kind of how I was. So I tried the blisscipline on the plant. So I said to the plant, hey, you know what? You're going to get a new pot. You're going to love this pot. It's so pretty. And you're going to have more water. You're going to have more room for your roots. You're going to stretch out. It's going to be so easy. The girl who's going to do it, she loves you. I love you. You're going to be completely safe. It's going to be so fun. You're going to love it. I told the plant that every day. When she came, it was for 5 days. When she came to repot it, she said again, oh, it's going to go into shock. And I said, no, can I tell you what I'm doing? And I told her, and I hear her out, on the outside. repotting the plant and saying, "You're doing great. You're so beautiful. You're doing wonderful." That plant did not lose one leaf. It kept thriving, even with the pot being changed. And that is what I've seen with our physiology. Our body is listening to our every thought or every emotion. So when you start to say something like, it's going to be really easy, you're going to be safe, you're going to love the pot you're going into, your body can relax, and then it is safe.
Wow. So, do you, in your experience, do you think that the most people can do this on their own, or do you think that you might need some guidance? And I understand that it's different for everybody, because some people are very independent and can read something, but for people who you have worked with, is it that shift difficult to do?
The shift is not difficult if you know how to do it. And I talk about it in all my books, basically, how to how to do it. But a lot of people, part of the problem is people can't see where they have a subconscious block. And I can see those really easily. A lot of people can't see it because it's subconscious. It's below the level of consciousness. And so people have blocks that they're not aware of. So they can be doing the stuff, but if they don't see it and shift it on their own, they need somebody with an objective thing, but also somebody who will help them move quickly and easily into what they're wanting versus, I went to therapy for over 30 years and I didn't get the results I want, like mental, psychological therapy, and I didn't get benefits. I mean, I got some benefits and I love the people. They were all great people and they meant well, but it never solved the problem. The only way that I solved the problem was when I had this kind of awakening, and now I don't get anxiety anymore. I don't get PTSD anymore. I don't get depressed or anxious or angry or afraid at all anymore. I'm like ridiculously steady and getting better and better, but it's kind of like this going up, 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 up thing. And so it takes, if somebody's going to do it on their own, like I did it on my own, it did take me 2 or 3 years. My clients, it doesn't take that long. I help people fast track it, but you can do it on your own. If you're diligent, if you're committed, and if you have the ability to see the things that are blocking you, that's where people get the most stuck. But I saw things that were blocking me and I was able to get them done. Like I said, it took like 3 years of practice, and it took me about, I think I spent over $150,000 trying to learn different things and understand things better. I don't charge quite that much, and it's a lot quicker. So it just depends on what, some people are real self-starters, and so that might be perfect for them. And some people need, they need someone to hold their hand, and they want someone that can see what they can't see, so that they can it can be kind of simple and easy, and not just see it, but help them remove it. So many people come to me where people say, "Oh, you have this problem," but they don't remove it. And like, to me, if you tell somebody you have a problem, you better have a solution and be able to actually heal it, versus just giving someone a label.
So, I always ask questions that they're related, but they're not related. I ask questions that you say something and I'm just curious. So did you find that even as you were growing up and you were younger, that you had the ability to quote unquote read people, meaning feel them and kind of feel where they are?
Yes, I got much better at it, but I had it my whole life, and I didn't always listen to it. Now I listen, but I definitely had it. And I think that actually a lot of people that have early childhood trauma are very psychic. And I think it's because you've got to have awareness of everything around you, because you're on this alert. And so you become hyper attuned to the subtle things that are happening. And that's kind of, and then when you undo that, then you get real intuitive, but now there's none of that vigilance that so many people have who have had those kind of challenges growing up. So yeah, I've always had it, but it's gotten so much more refined and so much more clear. Like I don't have any, it's really easy now, pretty consistently.
Did you work on that to get it that way, or do you think it just came through like maturity or wisdom of a year, being on the earth or whatever? Or did you consciously work at trying to be more empathic with others?
It happened as a byproduct of what I was doing that I wrote in my first book.
Okay.
So what I wrote, The Chronic Pleasure to Let Go of Pain and Fatigue, which is basically what this conversation is mostly about. When I wrote, although we diverge, but
let me just say we diverge, but all the divergence really help people connect the dots.
Yeah. No, it's great. I don't mean, I wasn't saying in a bad way. I just
no. Oh, Karen, we know that you would not be saying anything in a bad way. I'll just put that up. From our whole conversation, we know that everything is good.
Yeah, I mean, there is a practice you can do that I did start doing because I did notice I was more and more intuitive, where I could, perceive things that were going to happen in a positive way. Like one of my friends, he's an artist. He was very nervous about this project he was going to do. And I told him everything that the guy was going to say. He hadn't even met the guy who was going to hold it in the gallery, the gallery owner. He hadn't met the gallery owner. But I told him, I just knew, I channeled it. I just like, whoa, this is what's going to happen. And then he called me like after he'd already met with the gallery leader and the guy had seen his work. He was like, this is what he said, and this is what you said, and this is what he said, and this is what you said. It was like, so, it was married together, the two, what I had predicted like a month before and what he got a couple of weeks after that, or whatever, a month later. So that kind of stuff happens now more easily. And there's a practice you can do, which I will share with you. It's in Chronic Pleasure. They use the law of attraction to transmit pain and fatigue. And like I said, I'll give you guys a link, which is right there. It's on the screen, chronicpleasurebook.com. If you're listening, chronicpleasurebook.com. But in that book, there's a practice where you can, I do it on my phone, actually on the notes, but you look at, you take a subject. So let's say it is intuition or empathy. You take a subject, and then every time you notice that you're intuitive, you make a little note, because whatever you focus upon, it grows. So you make a little note. Oh, I was intuitive when I told the man what his ex-wife's name was, or what his dead wife's name was. Or I was intuitive when I sang the song after her husband died that he always sang to her. I was intuitive when I knew I was going to go to the high Arctic with 100 world thought leaders. And then I got asked in the weirdest way to go with no effort on my part. Right. Like that kind of stuff. So you're like, you pay attention where you've had the intuitions and where they come true, and you just note it, and And every time you note it, like I probably have, I have like in my notes section on my phone, a section called intuition. And I just make, while I'm driving, I knew to turn here and I didn't know why I was turning here, but then I saw a castle in Los Angeles and now I know why I turned here. Right. Or I was guided to drive home. I saw people going in the same direction and the road was blocked and they were stuck and stopped with just basic traffic. And yet I was flowing home and got home really easily. That's like listening to the guidance, right? So that I'm making notes as I'm going through my day. I got this wonderful thing or this wonderful thing, of intuition or empathy or understanding or whatever it is that I want to focus on.
So, let's see, I just had to glance at the time. Can you tell us, because you told us about the results from your programs and how well people do, but tell us kind of, not with detail, but how does the program work? Like, is it we talked about it being online. I don't know if you do any in person also, but how
Oh,
long
yeah.
does it take and that kind of thing?
Well, it's individual. I mean, I don't, what I do is I do a consultation with everybody. And so once I determine whether or not I can help them and whether or not they are wanting help,
Yeah.
um, sometimes people just want to come on and not really, they don't really want the help. They just want to understand things. Um, but once those two things are things, then I'll let people know what I think is best for them. Because some people don't need as much and some people need more. It just depends on the kind of, what they've got going on. And so it's really important for me. I can't really make a real say how long something would take or how short it would take, because it's not a set thing. I do have videos I've made and all that kind of stuff, but I keep making more videos and I keep growing as people come in with different issues, and I help. I add them, and there is definitely in-person time because people need it, and some people need it longer, and some people don't. I had one girl, and she'd had multiple head injuries, concussions, multiple concussions, and she was had anxiety, couldn't think clearly, was having challenges at her work. She's been with me just about 2 years, but in that 2-year time, all the head things went away. She got a new job. She didn't try. They found her. They made her the boss of all the men. She got better relationships with men. Men are falling all over her. She then got promoted, double promoted. She's making double the money. She's making, got a big advance. All this stuff happened. And part of it was just that she just didn't have any skills, and she'd had so many issues. But we worked. She doesn't have the concussion issues. She doesn't have the anxiety anymore. She's calm. She's relaxed. She's confident. And she's now she's the highest woman in her company. So she worked with me a long time. The other people, even the woman who'd had the problem with her husband, she only worked with me a few months. So it just depends on where they are and what they need. And sometimes you go, oh, wow, we've been working and you need a little bit more, or we've been working and, seems like you've got it, And so I'm not opposed to being aware as we go along if somebody still needs it or if it's now no longer necessary, if they've gotten it on such a deep level. So it really depends on the particular person.
Okay, but that actually did answer my question. And I understand that it would depend. I just didn't know if it was a set program. You know how people have set, okay, for 8 weeks, X, or, 2 months, well, 8 weeks is 2 months, but 6 months, X. So I didn't know if it was something like that, or, and yours sounds like it's very individualized. So it really just depends on the person and what they need.
Right.
Yeah. So and I did kind of put this up. So to close out, tell us what you want us to know. So, and I'll say this. So tell us, and you have already said how you get the book, but, even to formalize that, make sure that we know how to get the book, how to get any of the books really, because you've written 3. So if we want to get any of the books, or how to contact you if they're interested in talking to you for a consult about your program and whatever issues that they have. Can you just give us, wrap us up and let us know that information?
Yes, of course. So if you would like a free digital copy of any of my 3 books, and I know I talked about all of them, so you might be confused, but you can go to Chronic, CHRONIC, Pleasure, PLEASURE, book, BOOK.com. It does have all 3 books right there, Chronic Pleasure book.com, and it's on the screen if you could see this. And then if you go to that site, you can there's a way to contact me once you've downloaded the books. So you just all you have to do is just go to that site. I don't want to give you too many contact things. And if you're somebody that is interested in, having me hold your hand and help you through this stuff and really help you get that freedom that you're wanting and be able to have a life that's incredible, then you can find the way to contact me once you download the book. There'll be I send you an email, so you can just reply to that email, and it will happen once you download the book. So again, the thing is Chronic Pleasure Book, And I hope you enjoy the books.
Yeah, let me get back on the screen. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. I really loved all the information that you have given us. I really do. And you know why I like it? I like it because people who have chronic pain sometimes run out of hope. They run out of hope, and you just begin to think there is nothing that you can do. You know, your doctor has given you medication, it's not helping, et cetera, et cetera. But just to realize that there are other things that you can do, there are other avenues that one can take in order to work on their health and their well-being and their mental stamina, because chronic pain also takes away mentally from how you can function.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I was in that place myself where I had given up hope. I was suicidal because I had so much pain and fatigue. Mm-hmm. And then to go from there to where I am now and to watch my clients do that, it's the most gratifying. It feels like so fortunate to be able to watch and help other people go from that state where they're hopeless into where they're thriving.
Yeah, I can imagine. It must be. Yours is even, well, you know, because I help women reduce and eliminate bladder leaks. But chronic pain is as a physical therapist, I have seen the toll that it takes on people. And my work is gratifying too, because people do get better bladder leaks, but they're more stressful, embarrassing. They do stop you socially, you know, sometimes from going out for some women, because you're always afraid of that leak in public if you're not wearing pads, et cetera, et cetera. But to help somebody to get past that, I'm in chronic pain. I have been in chronic pain for, you know, years, but there is a way for me to live better. You know, that's a gift.
Yeah.
That is truly a gift. So on behalf of all the people that you have worked with and on behalf of all the people that you're going to help, thank you. Mm-hmm. You know, because I really am in awe of the fact that you can do this and can get good results.
Thank you, Sheila. It felt so wonderful to reconnect with you. I just love you. I feel your heart. You have such a beautiful heart and you care so deeply about people. And I love that. And I love that you can help. I've sent your book to a couple of my friends because, you know, To Pee or Not to Pee, it's such a great title. And I just love that you've written it and that you help women in that way, because it's such a needed thing. So many women have that issue too. So
yeah. Yes.
And men too, actually. Men too.
Right. And believe it or not, men, it's a little bit easier for them to even get better if it's not a severe prostate surgery, you know, outcome problem. And I just popped that on there because we are getting ready to go. We have run out of time. As always, I'm always running out of time when I talk to Karen. I'm always running out of time. But that's the link if you want to get my book. If you by any chance have issues with bladder leaks or whatever, that you can go right to that site and you can get a free copy digital of my book also. And I would love for you to pick up any of the books that we have talked about today. So audience, it is that time. We have run out of time. It has been wonderful. It's been a wonderful conversation. Thank you, Karen, for coming. And for me, host of Living Well with Dr. Sheila, thank you, audience, for your attention. And I will see you next Thursday, or if you're looking on streaming, because you can stream it actually at any time, I'll just see you next time on the show. Thank you so much for listening and for being part of our audience. And thank you again, Karen.
Thank you, Sheila. You're beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye.